Welcome to the On Purpose podcast. And today we will be talking about media, particularly what information are you taking in and what thoughts are coming out. And my coach Jerrod here from Trials MMA has some good thoughts on what type of information he's been taking in to produce what thoughts have been going out. So Jerrod, what's on your mind this morning?
Hey, good morning, everybody. Yeah, I think it's important as we're in an information age that we're constantly bombarded with media and thoughts and social media that we control what we're processing and what it's creating on the backside. So for me, one of the things I always like to throw out to people is I grew up in an era where gangster rap was the thing, right? It was very popular. It was trendy. Everybody listened to it. And I did just as much as anybody. But what I didn't do is act out what I heard. And I think we're in a generation now where people are listening to their music. They're getting all this social media influence, and they're thinking they have to act out the information they're processing versus calibrating against their lives. So I want to delve into that because the reality is we're not going to get away from information. If anything, in the next 20 years, we're going to get more information. So let's start strategizing. How do we handle that? Because it's unrealistic to say, well, I'm just going to I'm going to get off social media. I'm going to put my phone down. Right? Those are small strategies, but in the big scheme of life, you need this information because it's how business is being done. It's how lives are being lived. It's how information is shared. So how are we going to make the most of it and use it for good versus allowing it to control us? So I really want to spend some time today offering legitimate strategies on how we're going to do this.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because a lot of times we don't even realize it. I know, particularly on Instagram, maybe I don't know how long the feature has been out, but a few months ago, I started tracking how much time I'm spending on the app, and I was like, holy shit, at least an hour a day. I mean, on average, I'm around about an hour a day, and I feel that I'm a pretty disciplined person to where when I'm on the app, do what I got to do, share my stuff, maybe scroll a little bit, and I'm off. You know, I got stuff to do, and I know that I'm on the lower end of the spectrum. My concern is primarily the youth of our generation. There's so much. They're taking in so much media at such a young age. Because Jerrod, you're talking about gangster rap. I'm sure you probably didn't have access to gangster rap at 8, 9 years old, like our 8, 9 year olds today have access to anything, right? Holding an iPad, they can access anything. What do you think about the difference between how much information we're consuming today with the youth as opposed to your teenage years to younger years?
I don't honestly think it's that different. I think that's not the normal thought process. I think a lot of people my age are like, oh, when I was a kid, it wasn't this way. No, man, go back and listen to the 70s rock and roll. Like they were talking about the same thing, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Gangster rap talked about sex, drugs, and rap. Like the message hasn't changed. What's changing is like you said, our access to it. We can really spend all day surrounded by it. Whereas, in my age, it had to come on the radio, so they only played your favorite song once every 6 hours. So you weren't inundated with it, and I didn't have it at my fingertips all day long. But honestly, Ali, I think that's an excuse. I think too many people my age make an excuse of, oh, it wasn't this way when I was a kid. No, it was this way when you were a kid. You just didn't have access to it all the day. So let's not beat around the bush. The reality is, what do we do with it? And that's what I want to spend time is, okay, yeah, the message is the same. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll will always sell. It's a moneymaker. Mm-hmm. What do we teach our kids? How do we deal with it? That's the important piece. And how do you process it? So I think you're right. Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, to more for my generation, the young kids are already off that one. How do they process information? Where do they go? How do they emotionally unattach from being consumed by the likes and the comments and the hearts and the shares and quit establishing their value of who they are as a person by the value of their social media? I think that's a good topic. And I think that's where, when we have strategies on that, we start to impact how the kids are viewing the world and how they view themselves.
Yeah. And it starts with your own self-confidence, right? If you're basing your value on how many likes and comments you get, you're probably not a very self-confident person eh, to begin with. And it's there will always be attachment to that. Of course, it's like dopamine. I think it was Simon Sinek gave a talk, and he used the analogy of a liquor cabinet. And children are not getting, that they know not to get in parents' liquor cabinet. You can't drink before 21. There's all these obstacles set up for the youth not be able to access alcohol because it it raises your levels of dopamine and it becomes addictive. Well, social media is that same thing. Every like, every view, every interaction, it is like a hit of dopamine. And I think that especially for the youth, there definitely needs to be limitations around it. I think that it's very easy. I mean, for me as a business owner, as a person who really takes time to plan his day and schedule my bandwidth, you're talking about an hour a day on social media platforms. For children, I don't know the statistic, but I'd be interested to research that. But I mean, people in high school, I would assume you're talking hours and hours a day on social media, and that becomes your reality, and you begin to place so much more value on how many likes did I get, how many comments did I get, instead of thinking about the actual day-to-day interactions with people in real life.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's easy to say don't associate your self-identity with that, but the reality is it's promoted to you, right? Instagram, blue check mark, what's that mean? Means they have legit followers, right? Oh, the guy with the blue check mark hearted my thing, right? Now all of a sudden, like we're being told that that's important. We're being told that the amount of followers is the amount of influence you have, when in reality it's not, right? The influence we have is in our circle. So I think the big thing for me is that we have to teach awareness of what we're processing in. And then what is it kicking out on the backside? If I'm listening to popular music and it's all about taking pills and drinking alcohol and being intoxicated, but I listen to that while I get my workout in at the gym, there's no harm there, right? Because I'm listening for entertainment, but I'm producing a positive result for myself. On the flip side, if I take that same song and I'm sitting in class and I'm thinking, man, I can't wait to go to lunch and take a pill. I can't wait till after school when I get to get high. I can't wait till after school when I'm drunk again. Well, now the same information is creating a negative result. So how do we impact the results? And I think the first thing is you got to be aware of what are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding externally? And then what does that create internally, dialogue wise?
100%. 100% agree with that. So having the awareness of what am I consuming and how does that affect me? So if I'm scrolling through Instagram and I see all of these MMA guys or bodybuilders and like, oh, that guy's has a way better physique than I do, or that guy's way better fighter than I am. I suck. I'm no good, and that makes me feel down for seeing these guys that are higher than me. I need to be aware of that and be like, I don't need to consume that because this is how I react. But fortunately for me, I'm the type of person when I see that gets me amped up. Like, damn, look at this dude. He's killing it. That's awesome. Happy for him. That inspires me to do better. And I think that if we can take that type of approach to where when we see things that a lot of, and I hear this a lot of the youth, especially with women, with young girls of now they're all doing this lip filler injections and ass implants and God knows what else, all this crazy stuff, that it's primarily because they see these women and it makes them feel that they need to be that. And not saying that, kind of the same thing that I'm saying I'm inspired to be to work out more or to train more. I understand wanting to be more beautiful, but you have to ask yourself, where are you going to draw the line? I think it goes back to, like you said, step number one, the awareness, not only of what am I consuming, but also what are my goals, right? What am I trying to do? Should I allow these images or this media to come in? Should I allow it to produce these thoughts? What is my purpose here? So being aware of that, I think, like you said, is step number one. But it's a difficult thing to do. It's a difficult thing to know exactly how you want media to affect you. So I think it's important to continue to have these conversations because as rapidly as technology is evolving, I mean, just a couple of years ago, we didn't even have the stories. That's a whole different platform to where it's gone in 24 hours. It's a different way to share. You're really getting into people's more day-to-day life instead of their, post only their highlight reels. So it is getting a lot more vulnerable. And I think too that there's so much positivity that comes out on social media that we don't focus on. I mean, with on my personal Instagram, hashtag DatGrat, DATGRAT. It's been frankly somewhat a randomly manifested movement of exercising gratitude. It was an ideas tossed around throughout my Toastmasters club of how, when you just refocus on gratitude, how good that can be. I've been trying to put that out there daily, just a reminder of spreading gratitude, and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback. People like, man, I really appreciate that grat movement. I try to exercise a little gratitude on a daily basis, and it really helps me. So I think more of that, if we can inject more of that into the media world instead of look at me, I'm so beautiful, and the highlight reels of I'm so great, me, that social media, the conversation may change of wow, look at how much social media is impacting the youth in a positive way.
Yeah, I 100% agree on that. And that is, I think, step number two is purposeful consumption, right? So the first thing is we're aware of what we're consuming, and we're more important of where we're aware of what it makes us feel. Then the second thing is we're purposeful on it. We're not just on there randomly scrolling to scroll. Like, if you're on social media, what are you looking for? If you're watching the news, what are you hoping to find out? If you're in personal conversations, what is the intent? I think too many people spend their days with no purpose. They consume information with no purpose. They spend minute after minute with no purpose, and it's just simply to get through the day. And I think like the DatGrat hashtag is fantastic. I love taking part in that because it's purposeful. It's a purposeful place you go to express gratitude, and in return, you receive gratitude. So instead of shying away and telling people get off social media, telling your kids don't use this, like, let's frame it like it doesn't have to be this big monster. It doesn't have to be this negative place. We can shape it for what we want. Let's create places where people go to really be themselves. Let's create a place where people go to ask for help, to seek positive information. And I'm not talking about the ridiculous, it drives me nuts, to be honest, is everybody that posts a motivational meme first thing in the morning, damn well they didn't do shit with it all day. Like, save that. But I mean, like, intentionally purposeful. That grat's fantastic. We go to express gratitude, we read it, we get a good feeling, and we're off. And now what was the outcome of consuming? I went and did something positive versus just scrolling through, giving hearts and likes and whatever. But I didn't do anything with it. And I think that's where we got to stress is what is the action you're taking after you consume? If you're going out and doing something with it and you're actually being real, social media is fantastic. The ability to connect with people around the world and share your thoughts is unbelievable, but we don't do it. Too many people are just strictly consumers, and what we need, and what I try to tell my kids is, man, don't be a consumer, be a creator. Be somebody that creates the positivity, the change, the hope, and not, like I said, not a dumbass meme, but consistency every day, showing up, being who you want to be. Your reach is unbelievable, and the opportunity to impact somebody that you haven't even met yet is such a great. To me, it's almost mind blowing that somebody that I've never met, I've never personally interacted with, can feel a connection through social media. Maybe it changes their life. Maybe it keeps them from doing something dumb that day. It empowers them and inspires them to live their best day and to take that next step forward. Um, we almost have an obligation to do that. And I think it's selfish when we hold back on that. And this is a great platform to do it.
Yeah, and there's something out there for everybody now on social media, right? Like putting morality aside and just focusing on awareness and progress of what your intentions are, right? Like, let's say you are one of those people who wants to act out on all the lyrics in the gangster rap songs. You wanna take pills and drink alcohol and have sex. Well, hey, guess what? There's lots of accounts out there that you can go follow, or people doing that can help you progress in that. You know, morality aside, there's also the stuff that the other podcasts, like your Gary Vaynerchuk, your Lewis Howes, your Eric Thomas, really motivating influential people, not only in the business world but productivity world, that will help anyone, right? Progressing in whatever you're trying to progress in, morality aside, whether it's good or bad, progress and accountability. So there's something out there for everyone, and I think you're right that it is important for some people. They're at that level to where they are consuming, right? To where they are a consumer, and of course we always need the consumers. Not everyone is going to be ready to be a creator, or frankly want to be a creator sharing out there, especially on personal media. But I think it is, once you get to a stage, a level in your life to where you're comfortable sharing, and however you want to share. Like, there's accounts out there you're never going to see the person's face, but I think you're right. It is important to create and share, because everyone has a story, and everyone has a lot of stories. That's one of the most fascinating things about human beings. I mean, sometimes I'm driving on the highway and I think, seeing all these cars, every single individual in each one of these cars, or at the airport, like has their own story. And we can all learn from those stories, even from the ignorant, even from the sick, the demented people. Like, everyone has a story. And I think you're right that social media, that this is the best time ever in the world to live. The the cohesiveness, the networks that we have. I mean, right now I can see you're 1,000 miles away. We're all in different places, and it's like you're right here, in sitting right in front of me. And I think that's something, as a species, as humans, that we really need to capitalize on, and stop stop putting it in a negative light. Like, people being like, oh, so annoying that all these people are now um, Instagram models, or everyone's starting a podcast, or everyone's, no, that's awesome. Go share what you're doing. And in that, being vulnerable, sharing you're going to learn, you're going to grow. Don't be scared to put out that imperfect pic, or that imperfect talk, that unedited, go live. We're talking about doing things on purpose. And I think that if you're trying to progress and being purposeful with your goals and your actions, you need to know that there's going to be failures. There's going to be setbacks, and the more you share, I think the more you grow. So I'm 100% on board with that. Create.
Let me ask you then, because you hit on something that I believe, but I think we're losing at times, as if this is truly the greatest time to be alive. Why are so many people unhappy?
Well, I think it's because it's so great that we don't even know what to do with it, right? All of our basic needs are already covered. I mean, most people in the world, thankfully, have access to food, shelter, and love. Grow up in families. It's not like we're growing up and babies are dying and we don't have this health and we have to hunt for our own food and gather, and we have entertainment beyond belief. Any carnal desire that you want. I mean, DoorDash, I can order any type of food in the world that I can imagine. It'll be here within minutes. Sexual desires, you type in boobies on Google, any fantasy you could ever imagine is there that you can find. I mean, we and it's endless in any category that you want to see. You want to learn something about any subject on the entire planet, you can watch a YouTube video about it. Somebody's sharing. I think that it's so overwhelming. It's so hard to focus. And when you have a lack of focus, there's chaos. And it's hard to be happy with that, with chaos. It's the simple life. A simple, focused life is not really advertised as something that's going to produce happiness. We see all this flashy stuff, and then we wonder why we're not happy. But that's a great question. I don't have a single straight sentence answer for you. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think there is no single straight answer, but I think it comes back to what I would share is the next tactical tip on processing information in and then creating good thoughts out as we frame it, right? Because how I view something and how I consume it, what it means in my life is probably different than yours. But I think people get lost and they don't frame it for what it means to them. And I try to say, I take this information, and just like your example, okay, I see say I'm a young girl, I'm a teenage girl, and I'm a little overweight because I'm going through puberty and I'm trying to figure out who the hell I am. And everything I watch on any social media, video, whatever, is swimsuit models and beautiful ladies, and provocative poses on sports cars. And I don't know how to frame that. I don't know how to frame, okay, what I see here, is this what I would desire? Then I need to work out more. Then I need to get on, I need to be involved, right? And I just look at it, I see the information and I think, okay, I want to be just like them, but I don't know how to get there. Nobody's coaching me on how do I become this. I'm just assuming that I can watch this and that I can never be this, and it's not possible for me. And I think that's where we lose people is framing. Take the information in the frame. What does it mean to me? Am I here for entertainment? Like when I listen to Tupac and Biggie, I love listening to them, but I know that's not my life. Like I'm never going to go out and do what they're talking about in their music, but I know how to frame it. I take it in, I frame it, and I use it to work out. I use it to kill time on a road trip and entertain myself, but I know that's entertainment, it's not reality. I think too many people blur that line, and what they see and they're being bombarded with, they think is reality when in fact it's not. A lot of social media is made up. A lot of what the news media tells you isn't really true for you. But how do we frame it? So I think the first thing for me is you got to be aware of what you're taking in, the results it creates. The second thing is you got to be purposeful. Like we just don't spend all day randomly scrolling information. Like we're purposeful. I'm taking in this music to entertain myself to make the road trip go faster. I'm taking in this video on YouTube to learn a tactic on how to be better at Instagram. Whatever, I have a purpose. And then the third one is I frame, okay, what does this information mean to me? Not, okay, I took this information in and now I got to live their life because that may not be real for you. But I take it in. Now, what is my next step? If I want what they have, how do I get there? And I think that's where people get lost is there's no accountability for the framing of it. There's no accountability for the action that follows. I just consume, I consume, I consume, and I think I'm not enough because I don't have this. When in reality is you haven't done anything to get that. And I think that's where we got to improve as well is frame the information for your life and then decide, okay, do I want what they're talking about? Do I want what I'm seeing? Then how do I get there? Or am I watching this for entertainment? Because it's drastically different.
Yeah. When, when we talk about information in, it seems like we're going back to social media and music a lot, right? I particularly brought up Instagram as a platform, which is very different than other platforms, right? Like YouTube. YouTube, a lot of times people go there for to learn something or for entertainment. There's a lot of YouTube shows, vloggers now. It's where it's watching whole episodes. What do you think today are some of the most impactful or prevalent platforms for information in? Is it the new? I think the news is always going to be a big one. Obviously, social media, music. We have Netflix now. What's your opinion on that?
That's a good question. I mean, I want to tell you that I still think the biggest influences are the legitimate people around you. I think those carry still the most weight because what I we've talked about this in circle of five, and that you're the sum of the five people you spend the most time with. If I don't have those relationships, then literally I'm just at the whim of whatever is coming at me through electronic channels, whether it's social media, networks, music. So I think we need to go back and put an emphasis on, okay, who are the five people we're spending our time with, and what are they telling us? Are they telling us life is possible? We can be great. Are they holding us accountable when we don't do things? Or are they the same people that are just on just randomly getting information, not doing anything in their lives. And I think that to me is still where we can make the biggest improvement is who are we spending our time with and what are they telling us? And more importantly, if you tell me something, what does it create in my head? Does it create hope, possibility, dreams, and encouragement, or does it build negativity, self-doubt? I'm never enough. I'm not worthy. Um, so to me, like social media is important, music's important, but they've always been there. They're always going to be there. But what are the real relationships you're around telling you? What are you getting from your parents? What are you getting from your friends? What do you get from school? If we look at that, I think that's a lot of times where people can improve the most.
Yeah, who they're surrounding themselves with. Now, would you say that outweighs all of the digital media? Like, do you think that your personal relationships, and yeah, I guess let's ask specifically for you, like your personal relationships, do you consume more information in from your interpersonal communication than all digital combined, than all of your music, your your podcasts, your social media? What do you think the weight distribution is there?
I think that's interesting, but I think the gym is a perfect example, right? And here's why. On any given night, we're going to have 15 to 30 people on the mat partaking in whatever we're offering, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, kickboxing, Muay Thai, whatever the case may be. They're all there sharing information, learning from each other, and seeking self-improvement. But what is the music that's predominantly played in the gym?
Hip hop, probably.
Hip hop,
Yeah.
drugs, sex, alcohol, all the stuff you don't necessarily identify with a productive life, but because it's framed properly, right? It's framed, it's in there. Yeah, you're going to have this music. It excites you. It moves you in a positive framework because you're there to learn. You're there to grow. Does that make sense? Like it's framed in a certain way, so it's not an unpurposeful consumption. I'm not consuming this going, oh, I need to go out and shoot up a liquor store. I need to beat my wife. Like, no, that's not what it is. This is just music that's in the background while you're learning, while you're preparing, and while you're pushing yourself forward. And I would say that's a direct result of the real relationships that are around you at that moment. And those are only possible because people have sought out the gym. They've sought out self improvement instead of just sitting back, assuming it's going to come to them through blue check marks on Instagram or social media, the news, wherever. They're purposeful, right? They're purposeful consumers. They're seeking self improvement. So I think you take music as a great example. In that framework, music is very positive because it's producing results. And I don't care what the lyrics say. On the flip side, if it's 14-year-olds sitting in the basement playing with guns, smoking J's, popping pills, that same song has a very negative consequence because of the real relationships they're in.
Yeah. Now, how do we know when it's framed, right? Because I like that example to where if we're listening, if I'm listening to, let's see, like one of the more popular rappers, Lil Pump, is always talking about his drug addiction and popping Xanax and popping pills. And frankly, I really don't listen to his music. I kind of see it on social media. He makes a lot of like headlines and just have read a lot about his stuff. But I see that some of his, I've listened to a few of them, and they're legitimately like the entire song is just about being fucked up beyond comprehension. And maybe the beat or whatever is going on while we're training or while we're um, doing whatever. But what do you think is how do we frame that without knowing, without having that awareness already that it's impacting? Do you have any suggestions for me, for our listeners, of how to frame information coming in?
Yeah, I think it's going to be simple. And you guys both know, and all the listeners know, I'm a pretty simple dude. When it comes to life, I look at results. The results will not lie to you. If I'm consuming, I don't care what it is, if I'm sitting and watching CNN for 10 hours a day, and at the end of the day, I feel miserable, I've done nothing, and my relationships are suffering, well, then the result tells me this is not productive. This is not something I should be doing. On the flip side, if I'm listening to, I like Post Malone. Post Malone has a lot of Xannies and pills and stuff, but I listen to it and it makes me feel good, and I kind of like the beats, and then I write a blog, or I create a new video because it puts me in a creative frame of mind. Then the results tell me I'm doing okay. But I think what we're missing is we're not creating purposeful consumers. We're not framing, okay, you got this information, what does it mean to you, how does it make you feel, and what are the results? And when we look at life, is all about results, right? Let's not kid ourselves. Like, everybody wants to tie and everybody gets participation trophies. The reality is life is a win by producing type game. So if I look at results, if I consume this and this is the outcome and the outcome is good, then okay, stay on it. But if I'm looking at this and it's making me feel bad about myself and it's depressing me, and I'm not where I want to be, then the results are telling you got to make some changes. And I think self-awareness, self-accountability ties into that. And then I think it also goes back to, who are those around you, and are they willing to tell you the difficult facts of, hey, Ali, you got to get out of the basement. Sitting down there listening to this music doing nothing all day is not productive. Do we have those conversations? Do we have those people in our lives to help us?
Yeah. And it's I think that is very important. And while you were speaking, I was thinking about how you're right, that the most impactful information in is typically what comes from other people in real in-person interactions. However, most of the stuff that we talk about and we share is based on the media that we're consuming. I mean, most people around are talking about what's happened on the news, or talking about a story that they saw on social media. How do we inspire and influence good information, purposeful information, when most of, because I can't relate. I can't tell. I don't watch the news. I don't watch CNN. I don't watch Fox. I don't. And when people start talking politics or whatever, I tell them, I'm not informed. But I can't tell. It happens to me almost on a weekly basis, at least, to where I just decide not to tune in, because I don't want to consume that. I used to so much in my college years. And like you said, what results was that producing? A lot of wasted time talking, just blabbering about bullshit that I have no control over. And it's just like that's just a waste of time for me. And so how do we influence and inspire these purposeful talks of good information coming in? Because frankly, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but the news is just so dumb to me. It's most of the time it's a waste of time, and that's why I've stopped watching it. That's just my opinion, but I don't know. I would love some ideas on how to inspire that, because it's been difficult in my experience.
Dude, you hit it right on the head. You made a choice to quit consuming stuff that didn't fulfill you, period. Period. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. The news did not fulfill you, so you quit consuming. I haven't watched the news, and for as soon as the iPhone started having the weather app to where I don't have to ever look at the news to see what my weather's going to be, I don't watch it. Why? Because it doesn't fulfill me. It doesn't lead me to become better. It doesn't provide me hope and encouragement. So I think it's literally that simple. Just make a decision and consume what's moving you forward. Now, is that easier said for me than for a 15-year-old who's not sure who they are? Absolutely. But it doesn't excuse and doesn't remove us from saying, hey, let's have these talks. And especially, like, I'll hit you on the parenting side of things. As a parent, let's talk about what hashtags are we following? What, where are we spending our times? And does that help you or does that hinder you? Does that build you up or tear you down? Do the relationships you're in build you up or tear you down? It's literally, I think, as much as we want to make things complicated, they're not that complicated if we know what it is we're wanting to get out of things. Obviously, when you're younger and you're still figuring out who you are and where you're going in life, yeah, there's a lot of variables in play. But just telling people not to partake, avoid all of this, is not a realistic solution. So what do we do? To me, you teach them to be aware. What are you consuming? How's it making you feel? And be purposeful. Consume the things that you want in your life, and that's going to change over time. right? When you're young and you're single and you're looking for that perfect mate, yeah, you're probably going to be on different places looking up ladies than you will be when you're in your mid 30s and you're settled down. That's okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean you're not a good person. Like, you're going to change. Frame what you're taking in. Take it in and frame it. What does this mean to me? What does it mean to me, and what are the outcomes? And then that's the big piece, the results. What am I getting from this? And um, knowing that you're in control. I think that's the big thing. People feel like, well, I just sit back and it all comes to me and I get overwhelmed. No, dude, you're in control. There's filters, there's settings. You can turn your phone off. You can go, you don't have to follow everybody because they follow you back. Right? Like, there's a million ways to filter the information to get what you want out of it. Quit making excuses.
Agreed. Everyone needs to know that we are all divine beings in control of it all. So, regarding news, I since I don't watch it, I primarily get my information from people in day-to-day interactions. When I hear a lot of people talking about what's on the news, if it's something I feel I want to look into more, then that's when I'll get more information. Uh, but I don't watch it because the bulk of that news, to me, it just doesn't fulfill me. However, there are things, we're all human, right? Everyone has their vices. There are things that I follow, that I do, that I know aren't necessarily progressing me in certain goals, but that are still there. What do you think about the balance, especially as a parent? Do you allow a little bit of leeway for your children? One, and then I guess on the other end, do you think that adults, because I know it's different for kids. I'm not a parent, but I can only imagine that it's hard not to be biased. But for your children and for others, how do you think we should go about having that balance? Because frankly, getting hammered on a Saturday night probably isn't productive and isn't going to push you towards your goals, but sometimes it's fun. Sometimes I need that night where I just get hammered drunk with some good old friends and have a good time, and I may wake up a little hungover, and I don't do it that often, but every now and then I like to do something that's just not necessarily pushing me forward towards my goals, but gives you kind of these simple pleasures that some would consider non-productive. What do you think about that balance, that distribution? Do you allow a little bit of that with your children? Do you think people should have uh, like limited amount of, okay, this isn't good, but I'm gonna do a little bit of that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think you did exactly what we're talking about. You framed it, right? Like, okay, I'm going to go out this Saturday night. I'm going to enjoy my friends. Now, do I get the same benefit as staying at home and reading a book on some kind of strategy or whatever I'm learning? No. But on the flip side, you get experience. You get to spend time with people. You get to grow in that relationship. And who knows, maybe that's where you meet your future wife. Maybe that's where you meet a future business partner. So I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I don't think having fun and enjoying life means you're not moving forward. I think there's that, if you think of it as circles, right? There's a circle of like social life, and there's a circle of like professional life. But where they overlap is where we can do both, where we can accomplish both at the same time. It's interesting for me, right? Growing up now, my kids are growing up where marijuana is legal. So it's a whole different dynamic than when I was growing up. Like, if at my age, if you were smoking it, you knew you were doing something bad. You had to sneak to get it. You had to meet that dude in the alley. Like, you just knew it wasn't what you were supposed to be doing. Now it's completely different. So how do we frame that? How do we talk about that? Well, I think that's the key. You've got to talk about it. If you're smoking weed at lunch on a Thursday, that is not productive, right? For a kid, for my children, right? That's not productive because you still got to go to school, you still got activities, you still got things to do. Now, if you decide to do it on a Saturday night with your buddies, it's a completely different story, right? Because now you're enjoying it, right? You've earned your week, like you've earned your weekend, however you want to say that. So to me, I think you have to have those conversations. You have to talk about it. You have to realize, and you can't be romantically involved or connected to how things used to be, right? Well, that's wrong. You're only supposed to have beer on a Saturday night. Well, dude, that's how it was. That's not how it is now. So do I embrace my kids and the decisions they're going to make and kind of shape them to be productive, or do I say in my day this is the way it is and this is how it's going to be? Well, now I don't have influence. I don't have a say. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We always have to be open-minded, and I think that it's always balanced too. I'll be a little vulnerable and kind of share for me what my processes are for what I'm intaking. Right, we have 24 hours in a day on average. 16 of those are your waking hours. Let's say 8 are at work. What are you doing with the other 8? Right, you're eight are sleeping, 8 are at work, and the other 8 hours. So for me, I primarily my three primary things right now are my career. Right, I'm putting a lot of time in my career, so I'm consuming a lot of that information. I'm in the cannabis industry, so I'm consuming a lot of that information, and I'm choosing to learn and grow in the cannabis industry, but also running a business. I'm learning things that I'm passionate about that don't even apply to cannabis, e-commerce, marketing, all these things. So that's one of my primary things. Spend a lot of time there. Spend a lot of time at Trials MMA. Always since I was a young, wanted to be a good martial artist, be able to defend myself, etc. Everything that comes with that, and then Toastmasters, public speaking. Right, so those are kind of my three primary things. But I also do consume things just for leisure and simple pleasures. Right. So Netflix. Right now, my girlfriend and I have been watching Trailer Park Boys. This just stupid ass show that I used to watch in college. Probably not very productive, but it's funny, and I'm aware, like, damn, like we've been, we've gone through 6 or 7 seasons. I'm very selective about what shows, because you got to count the hours. That really, really adds up on how much time is going into what you're consuming. And I think that if you are, like you said, going back, step one, awareness. If you are aware of how much time you're putting in, then you'll be like, oh, are these the results that I want? Another thing is porn, right? I had a big goal for this year to not watch any porn in 2019, which I already failed, by the way. But hey, it was a very good, and it still is a goal. I've had one backslide, but it was something that I was doing the math, and I never saw it as a problem or an issue, but I was doing the math and realized that I've probably on average at least have watched porn at least once a week since I've been 14, 15 years old, at least, and trying to do the math and like, holy shit, how many hours are going towards that? Not saying that, not taking a specific stance on porn is good or bad, but just realizing how much time in my life, even if it was, let's say 1 hour a week cumulative of watching any type of like sexual pornographic content at all, even scrolling at looking at models on Instagram, whatever. That's so much time just being given to simple pleasures, right? So I know, like, yeah, the simple pleasures every now and then are cool or whatever, and they feel good in that moment, but to build to that bigger thing, it's like, where is my time going? So for me, I really try and limit that. Like news, very, very limited. Porn, very, very limited. Bad food and alcohol, very, very limited. But every now and then I want a little bit of all that stuff. And it's okay, I think, in moderation, just like anything else, but it's very important to, again, be very aware of what is coming in, not just direct information, but the subconscious stuff, the music playing in the background, the things playing in the background, what's coming in, and how it's affecting you. So yeah, I think kind of to summarize, you were kind of hitting those same two thought process the whole time, Jerrod, of really being aware. And I think that getting even more aware is self-evaluation, self-tracking, really setting up, looking at the phone apps, how much time you're spending on everything, really being aware of who you're talking to and what they're saying, and then asking yourself questions of how it affects you. So as usual, so we can be purposeful for our actions, what are some action items that we can recommend to our listeners of how do we be aware and how do we know how it's affecting us?
Yeah, I think you brought up a couple really good points right there. And I think, before we get to those action steps and kind of wrap up for the podcast, I think when you are enjoying something for entertainment, when you're enjoying something for leisure, allow that to be the place, right? Allow your mind to shift, because we're the grind is a popular term now. Everybody's grinding 24/7, 365. Well, you can't do that. You need that downtime. You need the rest time. You need recovery time. You need the disengaged time. So allow that, right? If you know you're going to go out Saturday night, you're going to have a couple drinks and you're going to eat unhealthy, don't spend those 3 hours looking and counting macros or wondering, oh, should I have fried or not? Like, enjoy the moment, because then as soon as when you're done enjoying it, now you're right back to work. Now you can get forward. And I think too many people, they don't allow themselves to enjoy the small things. They don't allow themselves to enjoy the cheap meal or the drinks or whatever it is that was intentionally there for entertainment. That they frame it wrong. Now they're like, start feeling guilty halfway through, and then what happens? Well, they do it again 3 days later because they didn't enjoy the first time. And now all of a sudden, instead of a cheat meal once a week, it's every other day. And then slowly but surely they forget that they're not even supposed to have cheat meals, and that becomes a normal diet. So enjoy it, right? Like, compartment, like I said earlier, frame it. If I'm taking something in for entertainment and I have no intention of growing from it, I'm just there to enjoy it, then do it, and do it guilt free. Do it with the intent of enjoyment. If I'm there to learn, frame it. I'm there to learn. That means I need to take notes. I need to learn something from this. I need to pay attention. There are different ways of looking at the same thing, but allow yourself to go through that. So I think absolutely, cheat meals, all that stuff is great. Enjoy it and then move forward. Don't sit there and regret it the whole time.
Right. You just got to do it on purpose, right?
Exactly.
Plain and simple.
Yeah, it's the intent of it. What are you taking in? So to me, you got to be aware. What am I taking in? What am I consuming? 2, I'm purposeful with it. Is this an entertainment period in my day? Is this a growth period in my day? Is this a creative period in my day? Because I'm a huge musical person. So if I'm writing my blog, I'm working on my book, I'm going to have different music playing than if I'm getting ready to work out. If I'm getting ready to relax for the night, like, it's completely different, but it's the same kind of modality, right? I'm consuming something, but I'm doing it on purpose. Next thing is I frame it. When I'm consuming, what does it mean to me? What are the results? And then I'm honest about my results. If I'm, what did I binge watch? I binge watched something not too long ago. And at the end, I was like, dude, that was a complete waste of my time. Like, I had to be like, okay, can't do that again. Versus saying like, oh, I shouldn't do that again, but boy, there's another season coming up. Right. And that's just being honest with yourself. So to me, it's simple, right? Be aware of what you're consuming, consume on purpose, frame it for what does it mean to you, and then acknowledge the results that are getting out of it. And if you don't like the results, look at the first 3 steps. We could probably make a change somewhere in there.
I like that. I'd like, maybe as we continue to maybe do the homework ourselves and report back a little bit on the next podcast, and keeping it simple, because I'm inspired today to track my social media time on each app. I kind of look at the Instagram one, but maybe we can recommend to our listeners to track one type of media that they're taking in, because we have music, we have TV, we have social. Maybe whatever you feel is your biggest incoming piece of information category. Like, if you're on social media and you're never on Netflix, track your social media time. Or if you're always watching shows, track your social media time, maybe a day or a week, and then take some time and think about how it's affecting you. For example, watching Trailer Park Boys. I'm not becoming a better businessman, a better public speaker, and a better MMA trainer, but I do know that when Savvy and I sit down, my girlfriend and I sit down and are watching the show, it does provide me with laughs, with humor, with good feelings, and a feeling of connection with Savvy or whoever I'm watching that with, because they're enjoying that with me, right? So I can see that that's good, but how much of that do I want to incorporate? Do I want to binge watch all the time? No. How is it affecting me? It's affecting me by giving me these little positive feelings for so much time a week, and I'm good with that. So something specific, tracking that, and then taking some time on how it affects. So maybe we can. How do you feel about reporting our findings on the next podcast, Jerrod?
Yeah, I love it. Let's be accountable to to the listeners, just like we want them accountable. So here's the challenge. First off, be aware of what you're consuming, consume on purpose, frame it for what does it mean for your life, and then analyze the results. And it can be anything that you know you're consuming. And so for me, honestly, I don't watch Netflix. I don't actually watch TV a whole lot. So I will focus. And for me, it's one of two things: either music or podcasts, because I can crush some podcasts. But I'll probably focus on music because that definitely triggers different frames of reference for me. So, although you're going to pay attention to your Instagram, is that right?
Yeah, I'm gonna do social media as a whole. Lately, for whatever reason, I've been being a little bit more active on Snapchat and Facebook as well. So Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, gonna track that and really analyze how it's affecting me, because I haven't really looked at the effect piece in a little while. So I think that'll be some good homework for me, and hopefully some good homework for our listeners as well.
Alex, my man behind the scenes, what are you going to take inventory of?
I'm thinking social media. That's something I consume a lot, and it's more than I should, to be honest. And it'd be good to find out how much time I actually spend on it. Then, like you said, you got to be accountable, hold myself accountable to that, and see, like you said, what framework am I putting that under? What am I thinking about when I'm looking at that stuff? So I'll be keeping track of my social media, which includes Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. So,
nice. Sir. All right, team. We appreciate all the listeners tuning in out there. Again, remember, man, life is too short to accidentally just let days happen to you here and there. It's like going on a road trip without a map. You're just randomly on some road hoping you get to where you want to be. That's never going to happen. You have to have goals. You have to have actions. You have to have accountability. And you got to do things on purpose. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Remember, our goal is to empower you to live your best life, and that's going to be different for all of us, but it will not happen on accident. It's always going to be on purpose. So thank you all for tuning in, and we will catch up with you next week. We'll report back on what we've done this week, and we look forward to hearing from you guys. Thanks for listening.
This has been the On Purpose Podcast. We would like to thank you all for tuning in, listening, and giving your feedback. If you'd like to give your feedback, get inspiration, or food for thought, a great place to get a hold of us is Instagram. You can get a hold of Ali at Ali Abuzalam. I'll spell it out for you all lowercase. ALIABOUZALAM. For Jerrod, it's at Jerrod H. All lowercase again. JERRODH. For myself, it'll be at Alex Rangel. All lowercase again. AL3X_RANG3L. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening.